Hi guys, my name is Femi Anthony and I've got my friend here, Shegun.
Yeah, hello everybody, welcome to our podcast, the first episode.
This is the first episode. This is a podcast we call the More You Look podcast. You know how it is, in the world we live today, the more you look into things, the less you get to see. And on our very first podcast, I would like to discuss something that is very, very important to me. It's a very serious issue, and it's about mental health. Basically, mental health in regards to men's mental health. I just feel that it's something that it's not discussed enough in the society. I feel that men's health generally is not something that we get to hear. There's not enough information out there, and I would like for us to just discuss this today as just men, regular men, you know. I would like to start off with just a basic fact that I saw on the NHS.gov, which says that in the UK, men are 3 times likely to die by taking their own lives as compared to women.
That is outrageous, man.
I'm telling you, and the truth is, even I never knew that. I had to do a bit of research to actually get that information. And in the Republic of Ireland, it's actually 4 times. Men are 4 times likely to commit suicide than women. And
do we happen to have any statistics for Africa? Nigeria?
I'll tell you what. All I can say is with Africa, in the past 2 years, there are more and more, news on blogs, on websites, and basically about men committing suicide. And I just think
other drastic things just because their mental health is
not in the right.
You
know what? If we want to say that men's mental health is not discussed enough in first world countries like the UK, America, in Africa, it's not even discussed at all. It doesn't exist. It doesn't. And I just feel that we should sort of talk about the basics, what causes mental health issues in men. Because one thing I know is, growing up in Africa, in Nigeria to be specific, when you hear that word mental health illness, the one thing that comes to mind is yaba left. When you hear anything regarding mental health illness, the only thing people think about is, he's mentally ill. He's definitely, all those severely ill people that you find on the streets, naked, eating from the gutter, But people don't understand that mental health is something that the average person deals with. At least 1 in 10 people will struggle mentally about something at some point.
Quickly, so that we can break it down to people. What are the day-to-day mental health issues that one can be facing, and wouldn't even know that they are actually going through a mental health issue?
To be honest, the way I see it from my own perspective, as somebody who has struggled severely with depression and mental health in the past, and actually, I feel that society as a whole does not leave much space for men to actually seek help. Most people don't even know that they're dealing with mental health illness, that they're dealing with depression. And in African society and within the black community, I just feel that we were raised. We are raised
the way we were trained.
We're raised to understand that men shouldn't show emotion. Men shouldn't cry. Men cannot discuss their problems. You hear sayings that your life would literally be falling apart, and you see people who actually are meant to care about you will tell you things that you need to man up.
Yeah, even our parents, they fall guilty of that.
You need to man
It's the way they were trained too, but you know, it's gotten to that stage that something has to be given, you know, something has to change, you know.
We need to shed more light on this.
You know, imagine losing a competition and you're trying to like express your sadness about it, and you're trying to cry, and your dad is like,
are you a woman?
You know,
you are a man, for God's sake. Pick yourself up.
Pick yourself up.
Why are you crying? Are you female? You know, basically we're raised as men in the African and black community generally to not even understand what emotional intelligence is. And I'll be honest with you, it took me almost 40 years of my life to finally come to that point where I began to understand that I was emotionally unintelligent. I don't know if that's something that
Where exactly does emotional intelligence?
Yeah, emotional intelligence from my own perspective is when you're going through certain things, but as a man you do not understand how to express those emotions. You do not understand how to reach out, how to speak about them, how to deal with trauma, how to discuss trauma, and how to relate with people in your circle, in your world, based on the emotions you're going through. And that's when you find when your wife or your partner finds you quiet and she's trying to actually find out what's going on with you. And you're like, no, it's nothing, it's nothing, it's fine, I'm totally fine.
Because obviously the way you've been brought up, you see that as a sign of you losing your manliness.
Yeah.
You know? You see that as you being vulnerable. Like if you share, then you're vulnerable. It goes back to the upbringing.
It goes back to our upbringing. It goes back to society telling you that, you know, whether you're white or black, you're a man. Yeah. Men shouldn't complain. Men shouldn't sort of discuss their feelings.
You should tough it up.
You know what I mean? Toughen up. You're a man. You know, and I think this pressure that, you know, society puts on us as men to be providers, you know, sometimes you think, oh, I don't want to let my family down, I don't want to let people down around me, so I have to work extra hard. Even when your world is literally in pieces, you're like, you know, I have to man up. They can't see me weak. We use that word weak to describe,
and it goes as far as even when you lose relatives, you know.
Oh my goodness. Don't let me go into that.
I know that's a bit emotional, but we're talking about emotions, so there's no better time to talk about it. You know, Femi, I have to say, like, I've been in a position where I've lost a brother, I've lost a sister, you know, in my life, and I could remember family, friends and all that were supposed to console us, and you know, they just wouldn't have it for me crying and displaying my
sadness you're meant to be a man
in public, you know. And which brings me, we should ask our listeners, you know, we know this is the maiden edition, but if you listen to this, how many of you have actually seen your parents cry? Your dad?
Your dad, Your dad.
Your dad or your uncle, if you are brought up by your uncle. So have you ever seen your uncle cry before? Have you ever seen your dad cry before? I have never seen my dad cry before, and I lost a brother and I lost a sister, so I've never seen my dad cry before. So for me to cry is really, really difficult, you know.
I mean, and there's this saying, they say, oh, if you survive Nigeria, if you survive growing up in Nigeria, you can survive anything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's nonsense. I actually have a theory that the average Nigerian, and I'm saying this, I'm basing my theory on Nigeria because that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
I have a theory that the average Nigerian is actually suffering from some sort of mental illness. And the truth is, whether you're middle class, whether you're lower class, which takes up the higher percentage of Nigeria, I believe that waking up in the morning, going about your business, by the end of the day, you're so emotionally drained. It's become a norm in the Nigerian society that people don't even pay attention to it.
Don't even get me started. You finish work, you stay in traffic for about 3-4
hours
before you go.
You go home and somebody's generator, what's it called, exhaust, is literally right in front of your room.
The exhaust, the noise.
It's insane.
I wonder how we grow up. I mean, when we have babies, in Nigeria, how they survive the noise, the generators, and all
Well,
that.
it is what it is. It's just, and these things have become so normal that we don't even pay attention to it anymore. We don't. And I know right now, as we're speaking, there are men out there that will watch this and know and understand what we're talking about. There are some of you out there that were sexually abused as kids by other men that are trusted family members, but when you're recounting that story, you turn that man into a woman. When you're recounting a story how you've been, the few of you that have been courageous enough to actually share your sexual your sexual abuse stories will then make the man in that story become a woman. Oh, I was sexually abused as a kid by a woman. Just because you don't want to be judged, you don't want to be perceived as weak. There are so many men out there that are in relationships that they are the victims of domestic abuse, but you would never hear it from them. They put on their clothes, they go out in public, they hang out with their friends, and they keep a straight face.
I mean, Femi, because I keep saying we, because I spent most of my life in Nigeria before I moved there about less than a decade ago. We were born to raise our shoulders high, to be proud. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get us wrong. What we're talking about is the fact that once in a while you need to let it out. Let it out. Find the confidence, talk to someone. But the way we were brought up is is more contrary to that. We don't class. I mean, your dad would not even ask you to come talk to him if he would tell you, mind it up, man.
But I'll tell you what though. I was born in this country. I grew up in Nigeria, and then after a while, I relocated back to this country. And one thing I've noticed is, even within the black communities, there's this thing where parents think that they prioritize providing for the children over everything, and that is why most parents are actually strangers to their kids. The first year when I relocated to the UK, within the first year, I made a few friends and I had to go do sleepover at one of my friends' houses. And the way I saw the dad actually having conversations with the kids, it was more like seeing friends talk to each other, And I looked at that guy and I thought to myself, this guy, from the way I've seen them deal with each other, that there is nothing under the sun that it would not, tell his dad, knowing fully well that there will be no judgment whatsoever. You know what I mean? So, within the black communities, I think there's this notion where parents will tell you that I put clothes on your body, I put roof over your head, I've been a good parent to you.
And that's enough,
You know absolutely nothing about the emotional state of your kids. Those children grow up, become strangers to you. You know absolutely almost next to nothing about them because you feel I have to work that hard. I have to work 2 jobs, I have to work 3 jobs, I have to make sure these kids go to school, I have to make sure they have clothes to wear, I have to make sure they have food to eat, and that is me being a good parent.
Femi, can I just ask you though, if you were to learn, if our listeners can take something out of today's podcast, what would be the 5 major things you would want them to start doing or try and imbibe?
Well, firstly, you need to understand that you are struggling mentally if you are, because most people are in denial. They tell themselves, no, I'm just sad. Oh, I probably feel this way because I lost my family member, I lost a loved one. Especially with the way the world is now, with the pandemic that has been going on, so many people have been stuck at home. Yeah, they're having to experience new things, and marriages are crashing.
Too much
kids,
time. Too much face time with
what I mean? Kids are sort of suffering mentally from being cooped up in the houses. And I feel that you have to tell yourself the truth. That is the first step.
So the first thing is understanding.
Yeah.
understanding your situation.
Yeah, for someone like me who was sort of uprooted from life in the UK, taken to Nigeria, having to experience my mom make a lot of money working with oil companies, and then suddenly losing everything, and watching my mom sort of struggle mentally, and being separated from her family, and watching her really really struggle to make things work, and us having to sort of deal with a lot of poverty. It made me, even then I did not know what I was going through. It took me almost 40 years of my life to understand that I had actually been battling with a lot of depression right from my childhood, based on a lot of things that have happened, things I've had to deal with. Believe me when I tell you, I went to 11 secondary schools. 11 secondary schools.
My God.
Yeah.
You beat my record then.
I went to 11 secondary schools because,
Between primary and secondary, I went to about 7.
Oh, I did not include my primary schools, just secondary schools. I went to 11 of them. And, I was considered as having behavioral problems then, but nobody understood that I was just, struggling mentally.
And I'm sorry to add this, you were the only child, right?
Yes, I was the only child of my mom, and when my mom passed away in 2014, it just opened like a bottomless abyss of depression, where she was my support system, she was my safe space, sort of. And dealing with life from that point was really hard for me. Seeing people that would consider themselves as my friends, and people that would consider themselves as people that care for me, tell me to man up, to get over it. It really put me in a darker place where I had to remove myself from the world. I had to, stay away from people. I wouldn't leave my house, and people took that to mean that I was being proud or something. I'll tell you this: I'll probably catch heat for this, but Nigerians are the worst people to be around if you're suffering from depression, and that's just the way I see it.
There's nothing to be sorry about.
The truth is, I think it's just the knowledge of the lack of that knowledge of what depression is.
No, depression we don't want to hear. To be honest, myself sitting here, when you told me about, I made an addition that it was going to be mental health, I was excited because I knew that I also had that mentality, that Nigerian mentality.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to opening myself up to learning some new things.
Mm-hmm.
I hope our listeners can learn some of those things.
Yeah. We are brought into this world with one priority and one priority only as Africans, and it's to make our parents proud.
Yeah.
Your mom wants to use you as a point of reference of success with our friends. Yeah. And they'll tell you, oh, my daughter is a doctor, my son is married to this, my daughter is that. And once you're none of those things, you start getting this feeling that your parents are not proud of you. You cannot open up to your, you just have to, like a robot, you just have to forge on in life, without, and if you really think about it, sometimes you look at your friends and you sort of judge yourself by their success. And I think us as men sort of need to stop. Yeah, we sort of need to stop doing that, because if you look at the UK today with the knife and the gang problem in the UK, I try not to judge those children, because if you think about it, us coming from a Nigerian society where we also have a major gang problem, cultism. But we call it cultism. Because if you think about, when I was in one of the many secondary schools that I went to, the only thing I saw people doing was fighting other schools in competitions. So
that happened a lot.
You don't want to be alone, so you join them. There is no one to go home to say, well, this is what happened in school today. Nobody's asking you, what did you do in school today? That's why I make it a point to ask my son every day when I pick him from school, what did you do in school today? Who were you kind to today? What happened in school today? Nobody asks us those things. And before you know it, you're carrying a knife in your shoe, you're putting a knife in your Snoop Dogg bag, that big sack bag that has the Snoop Dogg's emblem on it. Yeah. You put a knife in it, you're going to other schools to fight. And from there, you develop this gang culture. Before you know it, look at cultism in Nigeria today. It's extended from university levels to secondary schools. There are secondary school students engaging in cult gang affiliations and activities. And I just feel that parents should sort of, our generation, we have to sort of make a change. We can only effect this change from our generations. Our parents have done what they feel is their best. We need to develop relationships with our children. We need to develop this. We need to put an end to putting this endless pressure on kids, to make us proud. And as men, please, if you're going through anything at all, you need to find people in your circle that you can speak with. You can go to your GP if you feel you're struggling mentally. Discuss things with your GP. There are GPs can make referrals for you to mental health teams. That's if you're living in the UK. If you're in Africa, then I don't know. You just need to learn to open up to your parents, to your friends, trusted friends.
Speaking of that, I think, with the mindset of, like I said, the way we grew up and all that, there's an option which you can actually do before you get to speaking with, professionals, which is, I think it's important for us to highlight that. There's so many resources online these days when the technological, age, and there's so much resources that you can find online. Why don't you try and research, some of your moods? Some of the feelings that you have, research it, what's this, read about it. And that might even actually boost your confidence in talking to people, because Femi, I wouldn't lie to you, if you told me 5 years ago I need to speak to someone, I would just I ain't talking to no one.
You tell yourself you're a man. I'm a strong man.
I ain't talking to no one.
I would like to talk to anyone.
Knowing more about mental health, I've worked in the mental health industry myself for about 2 years. But now, because I know some few things about it online from, like I said, I work there, it kind of gives me a boost. If I need to talk to someone, I am happy talking to that person, because I know I'm not belittling myself to that person, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, you can Google, if you live in the UK, you can Google Good Samaritans.
Yeah.
There are charity organizations there for people who can't afford therapy. You can go to your GP, discuss your feelings. Your GP can refer you to mental health team, who will then carry out consultations with you and then make decisions on if your depression can be treated with medication. Some of you out there, you'll be looking at this and you know that you feel low mood for no reason. You feel very irritable. You feel angry. You're having less energy to do things. You just wake up in the morning and getting out of bed is always a big issue. You are having less interest in things. You get invited to parties and stuff. You actually go there when you sort of dig deep and have the strength. You dress up, you go to parties, you sit there amongst a crowd of people, and you actually feel lonely as hell. You're feeling more agitated. You just feel like you have no one, even though you even have friends. You need to reach out. We need to stop bottling things up. It's not good for our health. We need to find those friends, trusted friends that can give listening ear. Always, you can go to your doctor, like I said. You can, if you have a bit of money on you, you can choose to go private. Therapy helps. It helps to talk with professionals that can, give you advice, prescribe you medication, or give you referrals to mental health teams that can prescribe you medications. We all, with the way the world is now, you can't help it. We have to deal with mental health daily. It's either you're going through it or you know someone who's going through it. And above all, because we're just discussing the basics of this, I would like to end with saying that let's just learn to be kind. Let's be kind to each other. That person you're meeting that is acting strange will probably be experiencing the worst period of their life. Do not judge people on the fly. Let's learn to be kind to each other, and we can help each other by doing this. Yes, we will talk more on other episodes on mental health. And there's another thing that I feel that we should discuss as foreigners, because the truth is, I was born in the UK. I will always be viewed as a foreigner in this country. So I would say, if you're going abroad from Africa, whichever country in Africa you might be, thinking of, relocating abroad to better your chances of survival in life, I just feel that we need to develop this culture, this habit of learning what we call handiwork. The governments in African schools actually need to put more resources into technological schools.
I mean, they try some of these initiatives, then they use it as an avenue to embezzle money.
Well, we know that. We know that. No, it's true, because when I graduated from studying for my first degree in Nigeria in 2005, there was a period where I was home doing nothing for like a year or so, and at that time I had no one to advise me to spend that time wisely by learning to acquire some self skills. It could be cutting hair, it could be learning to be a mechanic, learning to be a carpenter, learning to sew, to be a tailor, and in Nigeria, the way it is, schools, universities always go on lengthy strikes. There was a time we had 6 months strike when we were in school then, and we would spend those times just
hanging around, playing games,
going to parties,
friends,
and
all that.
First thing I noticed relocating to the UK is how some of the jobs, that we turn up our noses at in Nigeria, how those jobs are actually getting more. People who do those jobs get paid way more.
Sorry to cut you short. Before you make that point, I think it's important for us to also highlight that those names that we commonize in Nigeria, I think it's the way we grew up as well. The way they say mechanic, vulcanizer, they say burger, I go and call burger, the carpenter, in the UK, which comes to the point that you were going to make, these things that make big money here, like big money, and you got time to yourself, free time.
Oh yeah, you register as self-employed. First thing I noticed was the first time I called a plumber to my house, and this guy, he sorted the problem within 20-25 minutes and charged me 70 quid. And at that time, I was working minimum wage, and you do back-breaking work in a whole day, and all you get is like maybe 40-50 quid after taxes. And this guy,
20 minutes
job, he charged me 70 quid. And he told me that day he had booked 2 or 3 other jobs, and that would be all for the day. This guy would work for half a day and make like a whole month's wage or half a month's wage of doing back-breaking work. And I discovered that, many Nigerians, when you tell them before you go abroad, try to learn. If you're a woman, try to learn how to make hair. Try to learn probably, how to be a tailor. Or, if you're a man, learn carpentry. Just learn how to cut hair. Because you find that most of these professions abroad, they are nothing to joke about.
No.
In Nigeria, you tell a woman you're a mechanic, and already your stock is gone low. But here everybody knows. Take your car to the shop. Just 2 weeks ago, I spent over £700 repairing the car. Over 700 quid. And if you think about it, you knot your tie. You go to even bank workers.
Dude, should I tell you something? Next to our studio here is a garage, right? The car I drive, that guy's cars can actually buy about 6 of
What are you
it.
saying? The guy that
I
owns
use a car engineer. I don't want to call him mechanic.
Yeah, the guy that owns the garage that I take my car to, he drives a Range Rover. These guys are making good money.
Yeah, and it's a really tidy profession here because you don't see them wearing rags like they do in Nigeria.
So basically, my point is, before you leave that third world country for Greener Pastures, do a bit of research, learn a set of skills. And people will always cut their hair. Cars will always break down. People within your community will always have the need to sew, trendy African clothing and stuff like that. Do not turn your nose up at these things. You don't want to come to this country and pick apples, work minimum wage, stacking shelf, when you can actually put your skills to use. When you tell people these things, they feel that you're belittling them. Or that
it's even kind of hard this age now because everybody wants to be an influencer. I'm sorry. Everybody wants to be an influencer.
Yeah.
So who wants to go and learn a skill when they can just spend all their time on social media?
Like this podcasting thing that we're doing, for me, it's a hobby that I always wanted to bring to life. It's not about being an influencer or making money. I have my proper day job that I do. This for me, it's just a hobby.
And it took us a long time for us to even be able to meet up because we've got all the things that we do.
I've been doing this for a long time.
But
we just thought, okay, let's just.
And we should remind them that myself and you, we did work on media productions back in 2007 or so.
Yes. Well, my first degree was a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication.
Likewise myself.
That's true actually. We both studied mass communication.
But you guys were a year before me.
Was a year before you, and I majored in public relations and advertising.
And I majored in advertising.
This is right up our alley. So and I just feel that before you leave your country, I know there's a lot of pressure. Nigeria is ranked the second poorest country. I think as of last year by and I just feel that there's a lot of poverty in Nigeria as a country, and like I said, I will always use Nigeria as my point of reference because I grew up there. I just feel that do not be in too much of a hurry to leave the country that you don't do enough research. There are a lot of women right now as I'm speaking to you, being used as slaves in countries like Lebanon, in countries like Libya, and
even as far as Dubai.
And these women leave Nigeria with the notion that they are going abroad to work. To work probably in an office or something, or just and they end up in those countries. Their passports get seized and they get used as slaves, and a lot of them get sexually assaulted too in the process. I know there are charities in Nigeria that work towards helping some of these women get their freedom and return to Nigeria. My wife actually is the president of one of those charities, but we'll talk about that on another episode. But my point is, there are lots. If you go on all these blog sites, you see all these adverts saying live and work in Canada, live and work in the UK. You need to do a lot of research before selling your property, borrowing, begging, stealing money to give to these people. Because let's be honest, we all the notion, the motto in Nigeria is everybody they also. Everybody is out to also the next man. So there are so many people that give 300, 400k to these companies. They will actually get you a visa, of course they'll get you into the UK, they'll get you to Canada, but then when you get to these countries, you find that you've been stuck with a student visa or with a holiday visa. You cannot work, you cannot actually actively work, or then you get to that country only to discover that you can only work a certain amount of hours. You can't use that money to do anything. And then you get to these countries and you end up getting very frustrated, and that is why some people turn to other means of making money that now becomes illegal. All I'm saying is, if you want to leave your country, do a lot of research, call people that actually are based in those countries, people that you trust, to get valid and accurate information on why you're going there, what you're going there to do. Don't go abroad and now end up being a slave, or end up having yourself exploited, or end up being stuck with some holiday visas that all you can do is go around taking pictures, or then you become a fugitive, you start running around from what do they call them, immigration. There's no need for that. Just get out enough research And based on what we discussed earlier regarding mental health, if you have questions, if you want to share your experiences, you can drop a voice note. Right?
Yep, we can take voice messages and we can actually play it on the show on the next episode.
On the next episode, feel free to drop comments on what you think. And before, because we know how our people are, they will come and point out everything negative about what we've done today. Remember, this is the first time we're doing this. This is the maiden
edition.
Yeah, we were learning on the go. We will get better. So keep your judgments to yourself. Keep your mental health.
No, they can actually share with us, but share politely.
Constructive criticism, I would accept. So mental health over everything. And don't forget, this is the More You Look podcast. You know how it is.
Don't forget to subscribe, like our videos on YouTube, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Music, on Google Podcasts as well. Okay.
What are they searching for?
The More You Look podcast. That's it.
The More You Look podcast. Remember, the way the world is today, the more you look,
the less you see.
Yeah, keep your mental health up. Till we meet again. Watch out for the next episode.
Yeah.